Tona. I'm the interim superintendent. I'd like to introduce everyone here today on the panel. We have Sam Schneider, Deputy Superintendent. We have Dr. Lori Kerner, Executive Director for Curriculum Instruction and Professional Personnel. Then we have Denise Stevenson, who's serving as our moderator today. She's our Director of ENL and World Languages, grades 5 through 12. Dr. Maria Casamassa is our ELA Director, sorry. Terry Culhane is our Director of Security. Ryan Jacobellis is our Facilities Director. And I'm assuming most of you know, if not all of you know, Mr. Payton, Roanoke Principal. So the way it's going to work today is I have a presentation to share. And then when I'm done with that presentation, Mr. Payton will share some specifics about Roanoke Avenue and September and what that might look like for your children. And then we'll have the opportunity to take some questions that you'll be able to write in, and we'll read them aloud and answer them amongst the panel as best as we can. We do ask that you hold your questions until you hear the presentation, because we may very well answer some of those questions before you even ask them. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So when you're ready to ask a question, you should be able to find the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen if you have a laptop, a desktop, or a cell phone. And if you're using an iPad, the Q&A button is at the top of the screen. Oh, actually, I have to come out of this because I'm still in my high school presentation. Let me fix that. I have some slides hidden for elementary. So while I'm setting this up for you, I think I have it done now. We know how difficult this time is for all families. And we appreciate the time that you've taken to answer the survey that was sent home. That information is very important to all of the building principals. So we can plan as to how the students are going to be receiving their instruction. This is not an easy time for any of us, for families, for staff, for students especially. We wish more than ever that we were able to have everyone in person 5 days a week. We really do hope that that becomes a reality at some point during the school year. But for now, the health and safety of all of our staff and students is our first most important priority. We need to make sure that we provide the proper social distance for the students who are in school, and we're taking all the steps necessary to do that. And in order to do that, that is why we can't have the students in 5 days a week. We don't have the space and we don't have the staff to make those classes small and each of them have a teacher in a separate classroom 5 days a week. So we do have two options for families. The hybrid model will be, some students will come in on Mondays and Tuesdays, and other students will come in on Thursdays and Fridays for in-person instruction. The students will stay in the classroom for the majority of the day, and they will have their specials push in, so library, art, music. Physical education will be outside whenever possible, as long as the weather is good. If the weather is not so good, they'll be in the classroom unless the gym is available, but again, with social distance always happening with the children at least 6 feet apart. So recess will be outdoors whenever possible as well. Breakfast and lunch will be in the classrooms with some possibility for lunch rotations, and Mr. Payton will talk about that a little bit more in a few slides from now. So whenever we can get the students in the cafeteria, we'll make that a possibility for them. So those students who come in 2 days a week, they will have 3 days of remote learning at home. It will include a daily check-in by their teacher for 20 to 30 minutes a day. It will be at different times of the day because Mr. Payton will be creating a schedule. And so all of the teachers won't be able to have that coverage time to step from the classroom for 20 to 30 minutes to do that check-in, a live check-in through Google Meet. Students will be using Seesaw as the learning platform when they're at home in grades K1 and 2, and they'll be using Google Classroom in grades 3 and 4. And if you have older students, that Google Classroom will be in use from grades 3 through 12. If you've selected the full remote or virtual model for your students, they will stay home 5 days a week. We are in the process of taking the results of the survey and grouping students together by grade level. It may be across schools. So your child, if you selected full remote instruction, if it's a 3rd grade student, they may be in a virtual class with 3rd graders from other buildings in the district. The teacher may not be a Roanoke teacher. It may be a teacher from across the district. We're in the process of taking all the information we have about the families that wish to go full remote and creating groups of students, and in the process of determining which teachers will be in charge of those virtual classrooms. So those teachers will be doing daily check-ins. They will be recording lessons, sharing the recordings with the students, and checking in with the students throughout the school day. So students will be working from home and then have the opportunity to check in with the teacher for additional support throughout the day. And again, those assignments will be posted on Seesaw in grades K1 and 2 and Google Classroom for grades 3 through 12. And we recognize that this is a difficult decision, and some people may start with one option, full remote or the hybrid model, and then decide a few weeks in that they'd like to switch. We will make those accommodations, but we do ask that you give us some time because it may take us a few days or a week to be able to put everything in place to either bring the student back for the 2 days a week or put the student into a virtual classroom. So we do appreciate your flexibility and understanding as we navigate this, this time that none of us ever thought we would see ourselves at the beginning of a school year talking about remote instruction for students. But unfortunately, with the situation we have in the country and the world, this is where we are. But we do hope as soon as we can bring them back 5 days a week full time, we will do so. Students will continue to receive AIS, resource room, English as a new language services, and any other support services that they're supposed to get either on their IEP or identified during their in-person instruction, as well as during remote at-home learning. Self-contained students, I know there's no self-contained students at Roanoke, but if you do have a child that's a self-contained student, they will be attending at either Riley or Aquabog 4 days a week in order to meet all of the services on their IEP and meet their learning goals. So for grading and attendance, we know last spring we sent home progress reports for elementary students that were not typical report cards. So for this school year, regardless of if your child attends in person or remote, everyone is going to get a regular report card like we've done in prior years. So they'll be getting those report cards 3 times a year in December, March, and June. And we will also be taking attendance on a daily basis. Now, the students that attend the 2 days a week in person, that's easy to take attendance. They're there, the teacher sees them, they mark them present. If a student is remote, they are going to be required to log into Seesaw every day that they are on remote. And that, as long as they log into Seesaw, and the teachers will probably put some type of question for them to respond to, that will give them a check for attendance and give them credit for attendance that day. Now, the effort that they put in, that is what is going to impact their report card grade. So as long as the student is doing their work and responding to the teacher's direction and trying their best, that will give them a report card grade. It has not to confuse it with just checking in for attendance. So the cohorts are being determined now. In kindergarten through 6th grade, the principals are working together, the K-4 principals, Mr. Payton and his colleagues with Mr. Burke at Pulaski Street, to determine siblings, to make sure that siblings are able to be in the same cohort. So if you have a child at Roanoke and a child at Pulaski, they should be both in the Monday, Tuesday cohort, or both in the Thursday, Friday cohort. If you'd like something different, please let the principals know, and they will look to make that change for you. In grades 7 through 12, again, the siblings will be in the same cohort unless otherwise requested, but the cohorts, there will be 3 cohorts for grades 7 through 12 because our class sizes are so large there and we don't have any additional space. So those will be determined alphabetically by last name. A through F, G through N, and O through Z are the 3 cohorts. There may be some moving within those cohorts by last name based on balancing class sizes. And it's important that we're able to run the full schedule at the middle school and the high school so that the students will get 8 periods a day, all of their instruction. And if we should become full in person again, it will be an easy transition for the master schedule that the students will continue to get all their courses and electives. So all of the specific information will be sent home by the principals by the end of next week in our summer mailings. So please look for that. It's very difficult to have that information much sooner because there's so many moving parts to placing all the students in either hybrid instruction or full remote, full virtual instruction. Students will be required and staff will be required to wear masks almost all of the time. Masks or face coverings must be worn when they're on school buses, when they enter the building, walk through the hallways, use the bathrooms, as well as in the classrooms. If they do go into the gym or the cafeteria, the only time they could take the face covering off is if they're sitting down to eat. So if they're picking up lunch from the cafeteria, they would have the mask on, but once they sit down at a table to eat the lunch, that's when the mask can come off. Also in the classrooms, the teachers will be giving 3-minute mask breaks every 30 minutes. So again, that if they're eating, whether it's lunch, breakfast, or snack, they won't need to wear the mask for that time. And if they go outside for recess or physical education, they won't have to wear masks, but they will be socially distanced outside as well. Parents should be providing the students with the face coverings or masks, and it's recommended that you send your child with 1 or 2 extra every day, especially with younger children, the possibility of the mask getting dirty or getting lost. It could happen. And students aren't used to wearing masks all day. When you're home, you're not wearing a mask. And now they're going to be going to school and needing to wear a mask for several hours a day with the breaks. If a child doesn't have a mask when they get on the bus or if they enter the building, a mask will be provided. And it's important to keep in mind that those masks need to be cleaned on a daily or every other day basis because at home, the students aren't wearing them that often, but in school they will be. So please make sure that you determine a routine to send them in with a clean mask. Health and safety, if your child has any symptoms of COVID-19 or fever over 100 degrees, please keep your child home from school. And it's recommended that you consult your medical provider to determine if COVID-19 testing is needed. If the student becomes ill during the school day, the child will be sent home and again, advised to see a medical professional. The student will not be permitted back to school without a letter from the doctor or the medical professional saying that they're not infected with COVID-19 and that they are safe to return to school. Each of the buildings will have an isolation room, and the isolation room is a place for students who are exhibiting COVID-like symptoms to wait until they're picked up from the parent, guardian, or emergency contact. If a student needs to see the nurse for another reason, let's say they bumped into something and they need a Band-Aid or they take medication during the day, they would be able to sit in the nurse's office and not be in the same location as someone who is possibly exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms. If a student or a staff member tests positive for COVID-19, the testing lab will automatically contact the Suffolk County Department of Health. So we're asking families to please inform the school if your child has a test for COVID-19 and it's positive. And then the district will work with the Suffolk County Department of Health to conduct contact tracing. We will also be taking a lead from the Suffolk County Department of Health. Should we have cases in any of the schools, we'll be letting them know, and they'll be letting us know if anyone needs to quarantine or if a school needs to close because of excessive cases of COVID-19. So we'll be working very closely with the Department of Health to determine those decisions. We have contactless thermometers, which will be used for every student as they arrive at school to check their temperature to make sure they're not running a fever. Our custodians, oh, and Mr. Jacobellis is holding it up. I don't know if everybody sees you on the side though, so we'll show it again later. Thanks. So the custodians will be doing frequent cleaning throughout the school day and disinfecting, a deep disinfection of all of the surfaces after school and evenings. We've purchased barriers for small group instruction, as well as the areas that do one-on-one conversations like social workers and psychologists and places where they individual testing is done for students. So students will still wear masks whenever possible during those times, unless the provider needs to see the student's mouth as part of testing, and then that's why those barriers are there to help keep everyone safe. The classrooms have desks facing in the same direction and they're 6 feet apart. So everyone's properly socially distanced throughout the day. This is an example from our high school. Hallways will be marked to control traffic flow and promote social distancing. Each of the buildings will look different because of the size of the hallways, but we just wanted to show you some photos of what the markings will look like in each of the buildings. And there's signage around the building reminding everyone to keep their mask on and symptoms of COVID, what to look out for. So as I mentioned earlier, the health and safety of all of our students and staff is our #1 priority during this difficult time. Computers, we are loaning Chromebooks for students in grades 3 through 12 and iPads to students in grades K through 2. Some of you may already have devices from the spring. We ask you to still hold on to those, and we will let you know if we need you to bring them in. Depending on the grade level, they may be swapped. An iPad may be swapped for a Chromebook in grade 3. And I know our technology staff does want to do some configurations to the computers and iPads as necessary. But we have also ordered additional devices. And we've also ordered Wi-Fi access to families who don't have that in their homes. And we've purchased so many devices. That's the good news through all of this is that probably with the beginning of the next school year in 21-22, we'll be able to assign a computer device to every student in the district that they will be able to have, even when we're back outside of COVID time and it's full-time 5-day-a-week instruction, the students will still have a computer or an iPad that they'll be able to bring back and forth between home and school to assist them in their learning. So we're happy that we're moving in that direction. So again, if you'd like to ask a question, you're going to look for the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on an iPad, that's at the top of your screen. Type your question, and we'll be reading those questions and answering them shortly. And for now, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Payton, because I'm sure he has some information to share specifically to Roanoke Avenue.
Thank you, Ms. Tona. I know the one thing you had talked about was lunch and what we're going to do for lunch. We're in the process of seeing if we can get a whole grade level in the cafeteria, socially distant with desks. We're confirming how many students we can have in the cafeteria tomorrow. The floors are being waxed today. I can tell you 90% confident that 3 of the 5 grade levels shouldn't be a problem fitting into the cafeteria all at once. There are 2 grade levels, first and second, where the number of students in the grade level are a little bit higher. So it's going to be tight, but we'll have more information on that after tomorrow. Additionally, you know, I know I've been getting a lot of emails regarding if you didn't get the chance to fill the survey in, or if you did, we're in the process of putting cohorts together right now. If you requested a specific cohort, we are doing our very best to accommodate that. And that should be done also by tomorrow too. We've been working diligently on that all day yesterday and all day today, and making sure siblings are in the same cohort, as well as confirming if you have a child in a different school that they're in the same cohort as we are, meaning another elementary school. If, for example, if you have a child in Aquabog, we want to make sure that your child here at Roanoke is on the same cohort, and additionally the same cohort if you have siblings or if you have children in Pulaski Street too. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted me to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Payton. I see a few questions in the Q&A. So Ms. Stevenson, if you'd like to read those.
Sure, thank you. All right, our first question is there COVID testing at school?
No, we are not a medical facility. We don't have that capability. If a student needs COVID testing, there are some medical providers that have walk-in type setup, or your own medical provider. Mr. Culhane, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, the nurses will have a list of local facilities that you can go to that have regular testing as well as rapid testing. Just we ask all the families that if you do partake in the rapid test site and you get an answer from them right away, if it's positive, we would ask as responsible community members that you notify us right away so that we can take the appropriate actions and do some contact tracing and protect the rest of the school community.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Why don't we take students' temperature before they get in the buses to prevent contamination?
We're responsible for the students from the moment they get to the bus pulls up and they're at the bus stop. So that was something that we talked about extensively, and we can't turn the students away. So we need to get them on the bus, and then if they get to school and they have a fever, then they will, the parent or guardian or contact will be called to pick up the student. Students will have masks on the bus. They will be socially distanced as best as possible on the bus. Siblings will be able, or household members will be able to sit together, and everyone else will be spread out throughout the bus.
How do we receive a Chromebook for my child? I don't have one for my child.
So we'll be, if you contact the school, or if you answered the survey and you indicated on the survey that you need a Chromebook, we'll be distributing those, but not until the school year starts. So you'll be getting more information if you need a Chromebook or an iPad.
Do we have enough iPads for the incoming kindergarten students?
We will, yes.
If a child has to get pulled out for IEP reasons, is everything push-in, and how are they doing them at home?
So our special education department is creating a schedule so that all the students get what they need, whether they are in person or at home. So a lot of the remote service providers will be done through Google Meet, and the students in small group settings will be having contact with their service providers as per their IEP.
If you haven't been tested at this point, do you need to be tested to enter for the new school year?
No, you don't have to be tested to enter into the schools. However, I will emphasize again, being responsible community members and concerned for the well-being of our fellow students, faculty, and staff. If there's any doubt in your mind that you may be carrying the virus, please do get tested and be guided by your healthcare professional.
Next question is, I missed the beginning. Are we being sent info to our home about what cohort or how we request a cohort?
I can take that. Yeah, there was a survey that went out that also asked if you wanted your child on remote full time, or if not, what cohort, the Monday, Tuesday cohort or Thursday, Friday cohort. That survey closed on Monday. However, if there's a specific cohort you want your child to be in, you can either call the school or call the school at 631-369-6812, or you can email me directly, Thomas, THOMAS.Payton, PAYTON @riverhead.net. because we're right in the process of doing cohorts now. Additionally, a mailing will be going home from the school sometime next week. That's going to let parents know who their child's teacher is, along with what cohort they are in, and whatever, you know, whatever else we mail at the beginning of the year, including bus information and all that stuff.
Okay. What platform will first graders be using to meet with the teachers during remote learning at home? Seesaw doesn't have that option, and I believe you must have a Google email address in order to do that on Google Meet.
Yes, all of the students have Google email addresses, but they'll be logging in through Clever. And through Clever, they'll be able to access Seesaw as well as a Google Classroom, and they'll be able to access Google Meet that way. Does anyone want to add anything to that and make sure I have that straight? You're all comfortable with that? Okay. I think it's best through Clever, and it's a single sign-in through Clever, and once you're there, you can access Seesaw and Google Classroom at the same time.
How many students are allowed on a big bus and how many students are allowed on a small bus?
So I can take that one. We're basically looking to put one child per seat. So on a large bus, that means 21 or 22 kids, depending on exactly how many rows there are. And a small bus, it's dependent on how many rows in the bus there are. The exception to that is going to be if we have multiple children from the same household going to the same school, in which case we will ask those students to sit together on the bus, and we'll be able to add a few more students on the bus. Now, students must wear their masks at all times while on the bus. We encourage the windows to be open as long as the weather allows it, but the students must wear their masks on the bus for safety. Our drivers will have disposable masks available for student use if the students forget their masks for any reason. And I believe, Mr. Payton, the elementary schools are helping students determine which day they're going to be coming to school, so they know when to come out.
Yes, in that mailing, there'll be a calendar saying what day is cohort 1, what day is cohort 2, and that'll be continued through the semester. So you'll have that calendar clear. That calendar will also be on our website additionally.
What if
also too, I'm sorry, I know I've last year when we went full remote, I did like a weekly Sunday call. I'm going to also continue that during this time too. So, and I'll also remind when cohort 1 is meeting and when cohort 2 is meeting.
Okay. What if a child is being moved from another school in the district and has the iPad from that school? Is he or she going to have to exchange it for another iPad?
No, all of the computer devices, the iPads and the Chromebooks are all owned by the district. They're not owned by the schools. So our computer technology department will be able to keep track of the student that has the device and what school they go to. So no worries.
Will teachers and therapists be able to do the 20 to 30-minute meetings after work hours for parents that are working?
No, school is going to be between the regular school day hours at Roanoke, what, 8:25 to 3:40?
No, 3:25.
8:25 to 3:25.
Okay.
So that's the school day, whether the students are in person or remote, and that is the work day for the teachers. Teachers will attempt to contact parents outside of the workday as needed, but they will not be able to do live sessions outside of the workday hours. The teachers will do some recording of lessons, and those will be accessible at any time.
Do you have an idea yet of how many fully virtual students we have?
Yes, I do. 53 right as of now.
Yeah, that number is changing because we do have people that did not respond to the survey, and they've been contacting the schools. So that number does change on a day-to-day basis.
My child has attended a camp in Aquabog, and there are questions such as, have you been around a positive COVID positive person? Has the child had diarrhea or a temp above 98 degrees? Will there be any preliminary questions asked? How quickly will we be notified if there's a possible positive case in school?
To answer your question, yes. There will be a questionnaire every Sunday night. Every family in the district that has a student in our schools will receive a questionnaire, and you'll be prompted to answer them by pressing a number on your keypad. If there is a positive response, there'll be instructions on what to do next. We will automatically be notified of that positive response, and we'll follow up with the family.
How many kindergartners will be online?
How will kindergartners be online? Not how many.
Oh, sorry, how will? Thanks.
The teacher, if it's full remote, there will be a teacher that will work with kindergarten students, and that teacher will be in contact with families to help get you set up and communicate how the school day will run. So it will take some patience and understanding and communication in both directions between the teacher and the families to start this process. But we have a wonderful, wonderful teaching staff, and they have gone above and beyond in the spring to make sure that their students were connected and they were in contact with them. So we anticipate that will happen again.
My son doesn't like the mask and he doesn't feel comfortable. What can she do?
Anyone want to take that?
I mean, I will say the mask is mandatory, except during those mask breaks. We'll talk to the students. I have a social worker too. We'll reach out to students the first day. The first day of each cohort, I plan on popping into every classroom to discuss mask wearing, how to wear it, and that it must be worn except when their teacher says it's a 3-minute mask break or when they're getting ready to eat.
And just to add to that, we ask families to reinforce that at home. In the next couple of weeks before school starts, maybe having them children wear a mask at home for a little while so that they can get used to that. It will be an adjustment, but it is something that all of the staff members will need to make sure they do, and the students will all have to wear masks.
Ms. Toda, can you do the next one?
Yeah. What is the dismissal plan? Is the dismissal still at 3:05?
Yes, dismissal still at 3:05. We're still working on what that's going to look like. I have 2 meetings tomorrow that are focused on the logistics of arrival and dismissal.
All right, thank you. Because there's another question here in the queue about how dismissal will happen. Will it be staggered by class? But you'll be determining all that in your next set of meetings.
Next few days.
Yeah, just keep in mind, everyone on this call and people that you don't see on this call, we've been working around the clock to try to put all of these procedures and protocols into place so that we can have a successful opening, as successful as it can be, considering that we can't have all the students in front of us all of the time. So, and health and safety is the position that we're operating from on everything. So thank you.
Will there be kindergarten orientation in person or virtual?
Yes, there'll be a kindergarten orientation that'll probably be put out like via video, and that will be put out on we have a virtual page, a Roanoke virtual page. If you're not part of the Roanoke PTO Facebook, I'd encourage you to join because we do post there. We're also in the process of starting our own Roanoke Facebook page because we do have the virtual page. And by clicking on that, it's all school information will be on that virtual page. And I'm going to do a video kindergarten orientation. I'm also going to place on there before the first day of school.
Next question, how will gym class work? Will they have to run around with a mask?
So gym is going to be done outside as much as possible and also in gym class. If students do exert themselves, social distancing is now 12 feet, not 6 feet. And we do have room in our gym for one class doing gym down there or outside. They're going to put grids out there. But masks are still encouraged. Masks are still worn. We're trying not to do like exertion exercises in order for that to happen. We're not like, there's no playground equipment. The students are not going to be able to use that. Balls or gym equipment, jump ropes and all that stuff are not going to be used. So the PE teachers are coming up with activities along with the athletic director on working out what's best for our students in PE class.
So, and then our next question, if there's a potential positive case from the Sunday preliminary questions, how does the school react in this decision? Is it by classroom or the entire school?
We will consult with the Department of Health when we get that, after we do a further assessment questionnaire. There's a more detailed questionnaire that we'll go over with the family. Based on those answers, we'll make a decision on whether or not to call the Department of Health and start a contact tracing. They will not, as a matter of business, normal course of business, do contact tracing until they receive a confirmed case with a test. So they'll ask us to start the contact tracing, and we'll notify those people that did come in contact with the suspected case and just alert them. There is no reason for them not to come to school until we get a positive case, a positive test result.
And before we finish up today, I just want to remind everyone that we appreciate your patience. It's important that you follow the instructions that Mr. Payton will send regarding what school will look like in September and the cohort information. We're working to come up with procedures that will work best for everyone, but we're also refining those procedures. And we know that once the students return to school in September, we'll continue to have meetings so that we can refine what we do and improve what we're doing. So again, it's important to have patience. Understand that the teachers, when they are doing the hybrid model and they have students in front of them, they're not going to be able to respond readily to students who are at home during that same time. They can't work with two different groups of students at the same time. So it will be challenging, but this is a temporary situation, and we hope it is very temporary. Please know that communication has been going out in translated documents are on our website. I know Mr. Payton will send out messages that are translated as well so that we can support all of the families. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact Mr. Payton, or if you have a child in another building, the building principals, and everyone is working to try to help everyone and answer any questions that come up. We may not have all the answers readily, but as we'll get the responses to you as quickly as we can. So we have 3 more questions in the queue. We'll answer those questions, and then this is recorded and it will be placed on the website. So thank you all. Go ahead, Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, so should masks be labeled? Where will children place their masks during breaks and while eating?
Yes, I would label masks. And one thing that I do, and that I'd like to teach the children too, is I wrap, I have a mask with the ear loops and I put it on my wrist. So it's right there, and I remember it because, of course, in this time you get up to go to the bathroom and you forget to put it on. So it's right on my wrist as a reminder. Yeah.
I've also seen people using clean pencil boxes, the little hard plastic ones, and a mask fits in there really nicely, especially if you want to bring a couple of extra ones. Next, when can we expect to find out about our child's teacher?
Yeah, that'll be going sometime next week in the mailing when you find out what cohort your child's in. Also in that letter, we'll say who your child's teacher is for this upcoming school year.
And then will the students have their own desk to keep supplies, or will they have to bring them back and forth?
We're not using desks for supplies, but actually we're in the process of purchasing supply bins for students to put like their notebooks or folders and pencils and stuff, and they'll be labeled, and we're getting one supply bin for every student.
Okay,
All
that's
right,
it.
so I'd like to thank the panel today for being here to answer questions. Thank you to everyone out there that chimed in today and tuned in. And be sure to let other people that you know that the recording will be available on the website. And if someone didn't answer the survey, please call the building and they'll be happy to take that information. So thank you all, be well, and enjoy the rest of the summer. Thanks.